This week, we continue our Nicholas Holt series with Warm Bodies from 2013. If you haven't seen it before, you'll walk in just assuming Nicholas Holt is good, but you'll walk out saying, hold on, Rob Corddry can act? Welcome to Half-Ass Movie Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Half-Ass Movie Podcast, a show where we put together a half-ass theme as an excuse to watch movies. My name is Adam Porchers, and joining me today, he insists that no zombie could ever run more than 2.7 miles per hour. Sweet Sean Skovacs from the internet. And he'll rub his grime on you just to get the stink on you. Bruce Leslie.
That's Colonel Leslie now. People.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Colonel Leslie is back with us again. Welcome back, Bruce. So we are in our Nicholas Holt month here and everything, and we continue this series as voted on by our Patreon supporters, patreon.com/HMP. This week, we're checking out Nicholas Holt's Warm Bodies from 2013. And does this movie feel like it came out close to anywhere over 10 years ago?
No.
It seems like this was yesterday.
It does seem pretty fresh in the, I don't mean it like the hip hop funky fresh terms, but I just mean it doesn't feel stale. It's totally fresh.
It's okay though. Yeah, it's fresh.
It's fresher than it is dope.
Yeah.
That's very much true.
That's cool, bro.
It's really fetch.
The funny thing is, though, of all of us, despite Sean having more of the Adidas collection than anyone else, I could see Bruce attempting to do breakdancing more than any of us.
Oh, but I've got a long history of being a fan of Rerun. That's well established.
Put them big old chunky shoes on them and just throw down a piece of cardboard on the thing. I feel like Bruce Leslie tear it up in a wife beater, no less. I don't know why I see that.
In the fifth grade, I got on the old cardboard in front of the liquor store in my penny loafers.
Ooh, in your penny loafers?
with pennies actually in them. That's the kind of kid I was.
I'm going to trump your story. I'm sorry.
All right.
In 1985, the teacher asked, "Can anyone in here break dance?" And I have a very traumatic experience where I said yes. So she put me up front in the classroom, and I did what my version of 1985 Sean's breakdancing was, and everybody laughed at me. And I was like, I am never doing this again ever.
I'm going to take us off on a tangent because I don't like this movie as much as you guys. What's the best breakdancing song from those days, Sean? Because I have my answer, but it was also
it's probably Run DMC Tricky.
That is a great one. I'm going just a little older than that because fifth grade was the bulk of my breakdancing. Mm-hmm. But Curtis Blow's Basketball was the
hottest, is a good one.
Yeah, that was the hottest song to break dance to at Roy G. Eversole Elementary, Hazard, Kentucky.
All I can remember is when Chris Rock played the little halfpenny puppet and sang Basketball. Remember that?
I do.
That was a way back. What a weird time we had where it's like, okay, Penny Hardaway is going to not only have a commercial, he's going to have it with a little tiny puppet in it of him that Chris Rock is going to do. And he's just going to be singing and talking smack the whole time. And we did that for that was like a year's worth of advertising.
What's weird is the character from that commercial, Lil Penny, shows up in that No Diggity video without any explanation.
When we are off air, remind me to tell you guys my Penny Hardaway story. It is not for air.
Penny, I knew him back when he was still Anthony.
We're doing all that kind of stuff, guys. So why don't you do us a favor? Why don't you go over to the YouTubes there, man? Subscribe onto that because our show is up there everywhere. Throw us a like, comment, subscribe, comments for your mom and everything. We read those on the show. Last week, I kind of screwed up our podcast release this week, so I don't really have any actual comments for that one, but I'm going to bring a comment from another video, from my Discovering Dolomite video, which I still think people should go and watch. This one comes from Keep It Reels, and he commented on that video, an extra mind blown, those old titles coming out of that face, laughy face. And I think what he's really saying is how does this white boy know all of these old black movies? And I do, but so check out how I discovered all of those movies and more over at our YouTube page, man. And of course, I'm going to have a new video up very soon talking about Bong Joon-ho's not Parasite. Parasite was his last movie. Mickey 17, his new movie and stuff like that. So I'm going to have that up there. And I started a brand new series called Filling in the Gaps, where I go back and watch movies that it seems like everybody's seen or maybe missing bits of other things in, somebody's filmography or something. And I started off with Moonstruck, starring Cher and Nicolas Cage. So I'd never actually seen that before, despite it being, kind of everywhere and whatnot. So check all that good stuff out. That's over our YouTube page. Links are in the show notes there and everything. Appreciate that. And if you really love us, head on over to patreon.com/HMP. Pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. And on this week's Dinger Zone, we're bringing it back. We're not putting it on a main podcast feed or everything here, but we are going to be doing the Daredevil Born Again. I'm like, what is the subtitle again? Daredevil Born Again, 30 questions over on the Dinger Zone. So why don't you head on over to patreon.com/HMP, join up at any level, and get yourself some more action. And I think we're going to put that up on the YouTube page there for the first 30 questions episode, and keep the rest behind the thing. So check it all out.
Yeah. Good idea.
And of course, you can always drop us an email, halfassmoviepod@gmail.com. Let's get into it, boys. Here's the IMDb plot line for Warm Bodies. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. After a highly unusual zombie saves a still living, I didn't read this ahead of time, clearly. After a highly unusual zombie saves a still living girl from an attack from the two form a relationship that sets in motion events that might transform the entire lifeless world. This is written by Isaac Marion, who wrote the novel that this was based upon, and Jonathan Levine. Jonathan Levine's also the director, who directed All the Boys Love Mandy Lane, The Whackness, 50-50, The Night Before, and Snatched with Goldie Hawn and Amy Schumer. So there's a lot of ups and downs throughout that filmography.
Yeah,
there.
It does go all over the place. I looked it up and was like, wow.
Little good, little bad, little everything in there. Starring Nicholas Holt, Teresa Palmer, John Malkovich, Leo Tipton, Rob Corddry, and Dave Franco. I remember seeing Warm Bodies in 2013, and for whatever reason, I remember I can't remember if it was a preview screening, but I remember there being a lot of people in the theater when I originally watched this movie.
Me too. I remember that as well. This was a compromise movie for me too. This was a date movie, and it was one of those movies where it's like, this isn't really what I want to see. This isn't really what she wants to see, but we'll see it. And we saw, and it was like, I was kind of blown away with how much I liked it at the time.
I was pretty fresh off of lots and lots of theater experience with the Twilight series, and I had zero interest in this. Like when I saw the first ideas for it, the trailers for it, I'm pretty sure I avoided this both in the theaters and at home until I watched it for this viewing.
Huh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But, it was like the joke. What are they going to have next now that they're out of sexy werewolves and sexy vampires? What's left? Sexy zombies. So this was kind of, a meme joke movie before those sorts of things happened in my mind. And I really thought it was going to be pretty one note. Wasn't, and full disclosure, not a big fan of the old romance unless it's really something special. And I didn't think that zombies, which historically their depictions are nonverbal, I did not see this being something that I was probably going to dig.
Yeah, I think even when I saw the trailer initially, I think it was one of those that I was kind of already in the practice of, if you hit me in the premise and everything and I'm already caught, I don't watch the rest. Like sometimes There's like a movie, like a trailer that's in there 30 seconds. And I'm like, okay, you've given me basic plot and everything. I'm already on board for this. Stop talking. You've already sold your ticket. And this was one of those, I think, where I was just like, oh,
really?
Yeah. I was just like, oh, this is a very interesting idea that, this zombie could have, kind of thoughts and feelings. It's just a different perspective than what we'd kind of normally seen and stuff. And that's what ultimately I ended up kind of liking about this movie. And again, this most recent watch and everything is that kind of, you can tell it kind of came from a novel in a lot of ways, because with the voiceover and stuff like that, which would absolutely make sense, in a novelization form or comic book form for that matter. I feel like this could have easily been a comic book at some point. But having that kind of narrative in there for somebody, like you said, Bruce, that normally we see as kind of nonverbal and whatnot. And I don't even remember if I knew at one point that they actually ended up talking proper and everything like that. I still feel like the trailer that I remember seeing was basically like, oh, it's just all zombies, and they kind of have to almost charades it all out. There's far more a communication in this than I had previously remembered.
Yeah, me too. I also, I remember this movie fondly. This was not something where I was like, oh man, we got to see this one again. It was one of those things where it was like, I thought I remembered this movie well. And then on this viewing this week, I was like, oh man, I remember almost nothing about this thing. I just remember thinking that I thought Nicholas Holt was great.
Yeah, and it was one of those, it was his first kind of real big starring role in everything. So it was kind of this chance for him to step out. And we'd seen him, like you said, in a couple of other things like that, but nothing where he was like, first build and whatnot. And so this whole movie rests on his shoulders. And if you've got a crappy actor in this movie, this goes to pieces real fast.
Yeah. I mean, I have no bona fides that would make me in any way qualified to critique an actor. But I will just say that I kept thinking of him as an emo Beetlejuice the whole time I was watching it. I don't know. I sometimes the certain just the paranormal romance bias that I bring with me when I go into something is going to make me judge some situations a little bit harshly. But yeah, I kind of had flashbacks to when people talked about the emo Lobo at DC, and I thought maybe this was like the emo Beetlejuice.
Speaking of which, do you, just a quick offset for a half a second, do you know that they're actually talking about properly making Jason Momoa Lobo?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we should have been doing this, a decade ago at this point?
He should have been Lobo before he was ever Aquaman. I'll say that.
He should have never been Aquaman. He's fine
enough. They should have just let him be the Crow and get his superhero fix in a way that wouldn't hurt anyone.
You get off to the corner.
At least he has more than one speed as an actor, though. I mean, I'm not saying he's some amazing actor, but he can change it up. Like, he's not always the exact same person in every movie, which I like. I like that he can do that. I also like that he can actually deliver a line, unlike somebody of his same ilk, like The Rock.
Yeah, that's the comp that I usually break out when you want to say, is Jason Momoa a good actor or not? And then you think, well, he could be The Rock, and he's not.
No, he's better than The Rock.
I think he should be in more comedies.
On the spectrum, he's somewhere between The Rock and that Joe Manganiello guy.
Yes, exactly. He is between both of those. That's perfect, Bruce.
Yeah.
That's perfect. And I think that to get back to the movie, the thing with Nicholas Holt that is constantly surprising to me is that his American accent is completely flawless.
Yeah.
Especially for somebody as young as he was when he was doing that.
Well, in The Weatherman, when we watched that, I was second guessing myself. I thought to myself, all this time I thought he was English, but he must be American. And no, he was even good at it when he was 16, 15, however old he was in that show.
I mean, there are people who are full-blown adults who don't have the American accent that Nicholas Holt has. It's pretty amazing. You don't feel the flatness of the vowels like you usually do with a lot of English actors. Mm-hmm. And for him to be, there's a spotlight on his American accent in this movie because he does so much voiceover in it. And I was literally trying to pick it out, where I was like, okay, so where is he weak? And I could not get it. I could not hear a single moment where it's like, there it is. Not a single moment.
Yeah, in the first 2 seconds of the voiceover, you're just like, okay, this is the accent he's doing. And you're right. I did the same thing where it's like, let's pick it apart. And then it quickly goes away and you forget that he's even doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they skillfully avoided the word Worcestershire or whatever in that, because that's what would have come through.
That's what makes eyeballs taste the best.
I'll never forget the guy who plays I'm so blanking. The guy who plays the doctor who's a prick. House. The actor who plays House.
Hugh Laurie.
There you go.
Hugh Laurie. Hugh Laurie is in an interview, and they're like, is your American accent is so good? Is there a word that you can't say in an American accent? And he goes, to this day, I can't say Manhattan in an American accent. My English accent comes out, or Australian?
Scottish?
Comes out.
That's how good he is.
Every time. It's English. Comes out every time I say Manhattan, to the point where I had the writers stop making me say Manhattan in the script. So because I just couldn't do it.
Listen, and I got 5 boroughs here from you to pick from. Okay.
It's so interesting that there's always that one, Like that one thing, like for most people to get an accent, they have to have like a phrase that they say in order to get into the accent. And it's funny that that works the opposite way as well.
Yeah, my American accent struggles the most with the word predator. I really hated when we did that film series, guys, and that's not a joke.
I can't say these words. With the guy with the hair and the teeth, you know what I'm talking about. That guy.
I grew up where you could just say predator.
Ooh, yeah. Well, that's your area.
Yeah. Now I've got to say predator. Oh, that wasn't too bad.
No, that was pretty good.
So
Predator.
Like you said, we got a zombie movie here. I made a joke about it at the beginning, but what are your guys' thoughts? Fast zombie v slow zombie and everything. I don't know if we ever even really talked about that over these years.
Case by case by me.
I think as a whole, zombie movies are very difficult to make in a way that appeal to me.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's back to what Sean said, there's plenty of bad movies with both, plenty of good movies with both. So I think it just needs to make sense for the needs of the story. And then also you can't have like a bunch of slow zombies, then suddenly one fast one running out of the crowd or something either. You got to follow your own rules.
Unless you're screaming out like, that zombie's an athlete, or something like that.
I think the most effective for like, because I don't think that anyone's afraid of zombies anymore, right? Like that's not if you, it's like seeing a zombie on screen, I can't think of a single, even like small child that would be like, yikes, it's a zombie.
Yeah, we got Plants vs. Zombies as a little arcade game that kids play on their phone. They ain't scared of jack.
Right. So, I think that the fast zombie is probably a bit scarier than the slow one because there's that big joke, you can run away from a zombie, blah, blah, blah. But I'm thinking of the effectiveness of 28 Days Later, how like that movie is very intense versus, give a random zombie movie like
your regular Night of the Living Dead or something like
right, like the kind of thing.
It's not a zombie per se, but it really did give a new dimension to the absolute fear of a slow pursuing supernatural beast, and that was It Follows. Because the thing is, it never has to sleep, and you do, so it eventually will catch up to you.
Right, and that part is that movie is so singular for like, oh, this is a new idea for a horror movie, like for real.
I'm still waiting on my Kindle Compact from that movie. Like, what the hell was that about again? Where the little girls were like, she's reading a book on what is the size of a makeup compact, and you're like, what is this? It's the one really odd, outsticking thing in the entire movie that goes, what is that? What is that?
Prop masters among us will be happy to hear that was a shell from an older version of like birth control pills.
Yeah, it was about that size. That sounds right.
Yeah.
Also, the different thing that they do in this movie, which I like this as a narrative going in for a zombie movie. Like you said, Bruce, there are a lot of zombie movies are kind of pretty much all the same and stuff like that. This one has this nice idea of the bonies. As they call them, which is a really cool thing of like, hey, we've got all these zombies that walk around and they're like every zombie that you've seen in most media and everything. They're looking for brains and all that kind of good stuff. That's the thing that satisfies them and all that. But eventually they will die out and everything and go completely dry and then become these bony characters.
It gives it some stakes too, because a lot of times, The Walking Dead in particular just build a compound and ignore the zombies. But here, if you just ignore them, they're going to turn into this more difficult to contain creature, so it's easier to get the harvest while the stalks are low, if it were.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're not a huge fan of this movie, Bruce, but I think that the storytelling in the first 5 minutes of this movie is some exceptional world building, some of the best world building I've seen in a movie like this.
So fast.
They're giving you the rules of engagement and how everything works in this world. And it's in the first 5 minutes, everything that's happening in this movie until the big flip of zombies can go back to being human again. But like the first 5 minutes of this movie, you got it. Like, okay, it's like the theme song to Mystery Science Theater.
And
like, I know what this is now.
I'll also admit that maybe I would have been more impressed with that in 2013, but in the past 12 years or whatever, I've watched a few other things that I think have a pretty good, concise, explanation to the rules of the zombies when they open up.
Bruce is like, I want zombie scientists. Give me some.
I like the little motif that they use to bring the rules of zombies to us in Zombieland. I know that
I love that
might
too.
not-
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
good.
great.
I didn't know if you guys were pro Zombieland or anti Zombieland.
Oh yeah, that
but I
movie's
enjoyed
that
it.
movie's so much fun.
Particularly at the time. You know, it's everything, you know, gets imitated to the point that the original seems passé,
Mhm.
you know, sometimes. So
Yeah.
if you've never seen it before and you watch it now, you may not enjoy it like we did when it was
Yeah,
fresher.
you watch Zombieland today for the first time and you're like, this is rote.
Well, there's basically the 3 zombie movies that come out in a 5-year period that are like comedy zombie movies. You know, you got Shaun of the Dead, you got Zombieland, and you got this Warm Bodies. And of the 3 of those movies, I do think that this is third place, even though that's not to say I dislike this movie. I enjoy this movie a great deal.
But it's
For
with two,
very
you gotta
different, hold on,
argue.
please, for very different reasons than the first 2 movies that are mentioned, because this movie has a whole lot more heart than those other 2 movies.
Mhm.
Okay, go ahead, Bruce.
I was going to say it's a two-way battle for first place for a lot of people in those movies that you listed. So yeah, of course, this could be, you know, what you would say would be second place in any other year, that kind of thing.
And I do have to say, of those 2 movies, of Zombieland and Shaun of the Dead, I think Shaun of the Dead stands the test of time far better than Zombieland does. And
Agreed.
I don't know why that is.
I'll say that I'm a sucker for the director on that one. So I'm going to give him a lot of the credit. I don't even know who the director was on Zombieland.
Oh, it's the 2 guys, right? Yeah.
I forget.
Yeah, I don't recall. But you know, you've got Edgar Wright. Is that his last name?
Yeah.
Yep,
that's-
Edgar Wright.
Shaun of the Dead.
Edgar Wright, who's I still want to know what his Ant-Man would have looked like.
Me too.
Well, I know at least one scene where where like Ant-Man walks down the knife and everything. That was straight out of old storyboards and stuff that Edgar Wright did. So I know at least one thing that he kind of created with that little scene and whatnot. So he had
And
a
for
little
the
bit.
record, Zombieland, a Ruben Fleischer joint.
Oh, there you go. So another conceit in this that I liked, a little thing that was different that to bring into kind of zombie lore and everything, was when you eat the brains of someone, not only is that giving you the sustenance that you need to live and kind of survive on here as a zombie and everything, you inherit the memories of that person, so you can kind of go through in the, like, that's something that makes you then kind of feel alive again. I was like, that's a really awesome, interesting idea of giving like these undead things that you don't know why they're doing that, but in their world, this is how I can only feel, you know, human for a couple of moments here as I'm eating these brains and then reliving the quick, you know, kind of Cliff Notes memories of these people's lives and stuff. It's very cool.
I do like that the main character here is a little addicted to it too.
Mhm.
Like he likes having the memories of people. Like he enjoys living through them. I think that's a pretty interesting twist to what they're doing, you know, the zombie lore.
Mhm.
Like, oh, not only is it sustenance, like you said, but also like you can become addicted to it. That's really cool.
And they don't know they don't remember their lives pre-zombie, which again is a nice thing. So you obviously
like
see that these people don't have the trauma of, you know, being whatever, but they're kind of like
Right.
just blank slates here and have to put their world together for the first time. So it's like they're, you know, as they become zombies and everything, it's like they're being born in adult bodies and just have to figure out how, you know, the world works, and other people are, you know, doing the exact same thing that you are, just kind of bumping around in society, trying to figure out, you know, how things work when you can barely function.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, man. I do. This movie is already from a bygone era. Also,
Yes.
like right off the bat, you're like, oh right, we're still in the cute boy with floppy hair phase of movies. Like I totally
Yep.
forgot that was a thing that happened in every single movie. Like, oh, if there's a cute boy in it, he better have floppy hair.
Here's the thing. It's not as bad as it could be, though, right? Like, at
Right.
least it's not looking like, you know, a scene kid from this time where it's like, we're like going over one eye or some shit like that. So,
Well,
like,
it's more like Zac Efron from High School Musical. Like
Yes.
that's kind of the hair.
it's
he has.
close, but it's like,
I
it's
think
still not
that's
even
the
that bad, though.
prototype.
Yeah.
I think that Zac Efron from High School Musical was the prototype for teen heartthrobs for about 8 years.
Right.
Yeah, if Josh Hartnett was a little bit younger, too, I thought that this would be like a role that he would have gotten, you know, something
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
man, without a doubt.
This feels very
Yes.
Hartnett-esque, this role. And would have done him well, because especially like some of those, and I'm not taking away too much, but like he had some awkward moments in his teenage years and stuff like that. And I think this would have kind of translated well to that.
Yeah.
That kind of like weird, awkward kind of stuff that he sort of has. So, I mean, it'd have been neat.
And he also, his career for a while there, it's like, why are you doing this? Like, what made you decide to do that? Like Lucky Number 11? Like, why did you decide to make this movie to be in this movie?
Violently angry. That movie. I was so mad. I was like, this movie sucks so hard. And I tried to watch several times, and I was just too angry. I couldn't do it. I was like, I'm out.
Full disclosure: when I first saw that movie, I was drunker than hell when I saw it. I was like, this movie is great. When I walked out of it, and so like 6 months later, it comes to to HBO or whatever, and I was like, What was I thinking? This is the worst movie I've ever seen. I hate this movie.
So what was Nicholas Holt's character's name?
R.
The letter R.
What was Teresa Palmer's character's name? Do you remember?
Julie.
Yeah, so it's like the Romeo and Juliet thing there. I feel clever now.
Yeah.
This guy's
Cuscio is Rob Corddry. He's M. Okay, I'm seeing all the characters are Shakespearean characters, but their names slightly changed.
Right.
I like it now.
It's
just like Barbed Wire is Casablanca.
That's all it took. And here's the thing, man, because I just saw this movie this week. Teresa Palmer, who plays Julie, she is in The Fall Guy, and she's the actor's girlfriend who's also in the movie, that they're making in The Fall Guy. And I was like, holy cow, that is a huge. That is a huge range. The character she's playing in The Fall Guy versus who she is in this movie. Like, wow, she has that actress has a ton of range. It's kind of surprising because when you see her in this in Warm Bodies, you don't think like, oh, this girl could do anything.
Yeah,
like, you don't think that at all.
She's really, really great in this. Who is it? She kind of reminds me of. She I kept watching her going like she got like almost a young Patricia Arquette kind of vibe.
A little bit, yes.
There's a little bit of that going on. It's probably a little better looking than her, but not saying Patricia Arquette's ugly. I'm just if we're going on a measurement. But yeah, she's really
no snaggletooth,
Yeah, she's really good, and you feel like number one that of course, Dave Franco would go after that. What are you talking about? What are you kidding me? But Franco boys are ruthless.
Yeah.
But she's so good in this and brings a heart. Again, if you cast somebody that sucks in this whole thing falls right apart. Even if Nicholas Holt is as good as he is, if you don't care about this character, the whole movie also falls apart. And she's really, really great.
You know what I think of? I always think of the TV show Dexter when it comes to performance, because the guy playing Dexter is a great actor. He's just a tremendous actor. And for some reason on that show, they were like, we'll just cast whomever around him. And so the entire supporting cast of that show is like the worst actors in the world surrounded by the guy who plays Dexter. And it's a very hard show for me to watch because I'm like, well, that's the way that actor said that line 20 times before he gave that line read. And you can just feel it coming off of those actors. And so when you see a performance like this, where like, the two mains of this movie, they have a lot to lift for this movie to work. And it feels it feels like the job is kind of thankless, and they're great in it. Way better. Like, this is one of those movies that's way better than it has any right to be.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be this good.
The acting and writing for sure should be far worse than they are for this type of movie.
You with in the wrong hands, this movie is a like a Disney Channel original, and it's not that. It's far better than that.
I always like the conceit that you can fool zombies by acting like a zombie. I always think that's very fun. I just love how like they're just so damn dumb that it's just like
every zombie movie has it too, man. Every one of them.
Just pretend, but like I'm gonna mush your face a little bit here. Just walk thing, they won't even notice. But I do like though the conceit that at least occasionally, whenever it's plot appropriate, and whatnot, that they can kind of smell, alive things and stuff like that. I do like that, but they do turn it off when they don't need it. When like, we need to bring this girl through this crowd. Okay, none of them can smell for the next 15 minutes.
Also, this movie is very brave, and it didn't have to be brave either. We're getting to, if you don't mind, I'm going to go to my favorite scene in this entire movie, where Dave Franco is brutally murdered by the zombie.
Yeah.
Like, it is amazing to me that he signed on for it, because he is it is a Steven Seagal in Executive Decision type role.
Yeah, because Dave Franco's like, this is like, he's really starting to take off at this point, you know? Yeah. He's really kind of going like, oh, we're going to be getting this guy a lot more than even, you know, James in here. So like, all right, Dave's coming in, he's going to do this stuff, it's going to be great. And then he's gone. And then it is a great conceit. And you're right, he splatters him so much that he gets the brains and then keeps snacking on them later. What a great little fun thing.
Yeah, he puts them in a Ziploc baggie for later.
It's so much fun. It's just like, well, but I also like how he feels kind of guilty about eating them too. He's just like, but it's so good. My favorite kind of out of capsule time here and everything was the People magazine with Kim Kardashian on it, and how she is unrecognizable from just 15 years ago. It's like, even that, they were like, oh, this fake artifice. I'm like, she don't even look like that now.
Oh,
it was so much fun to see that, and for that to be the commentary.
I was explaining to someone very recently that because at the roast, Comedy Central had to cut out the Kim Kardashian part, because when she got on stage, she immediately started getting booed, and they didn't understand why. And I was like, well, because everybody else who at the Tom Brady roast was up there is either a sports figure or a comedian. And they're like, so what? And I was like, well, everyone is there due to talent. And then there's Kim Kardashian, who literally has no talent for anything at all. Like, her mom does. Her mom's got a business acumen.
Yeah, she's a hustler.
But there is literally nothing that she's bringing to the table. Like, there's literally nothing. So in the very rare instance that's not in her echo chamber of a life about how great she is and how wonderful she is, she gets up on stage thinking that she can pull it off, and she gets absolutely murdered. And it was so bad that they literally cut it out for like later performances.
You're really making me feel bad. I didn't watch that live.
It's pretty terrific. And I think you might be able to see that on YouTube. I don't know, but I saw it live. So I was like, oh man, this is great.
So she killed?
I don't think she got anything off. I think if I'm remembering correctly. I like the idea that
Nikki Glaser had her killer set, and there's some like really stubborn misogynist guy that's like, well, I guess girls can be funny. And next up was Kim Kardashian, and he felt justified. He's like, all I had to do is wait a little longer.
I told you.
Adam, is that how you felt?
Mostly. I go biased, or confirmation biased.
So you guys had fun with this?
I love this movie. I love this movie.
I didn't have any fun. I didn't really have any laughs. It felt kind of predictable to me. I guess there's a reason, since it's based on a classic story, but I feel like I watched, like, are there two movies starring Nicholas Holt called Warm Bodies? You guys, I feel like you're talking about a movie that I watched the wrong version or something. I watched the dub and you watched the sub, and the whole story changed.
No, man, I think Adam is a bigger softie than I am when it comes to romantic comedies, but this one just hit me right, because there is, for such a big bombastic plot, there is a ton of subtlety in this movie that I really enjoy. Like, think about the moment where the zombies see the human, and and R hold hands. Julie and R hold hands,
mm-hmm.
and they move like they move out of the way. Like, that's a really, to me, I was like, well, you're made of stone if that doesn't get you. Like, that's a really good scene. And then, but the subtlety comes in like 30 seconds later, where Cordry turns to a zombie who's an African-American dude, black dude, and he says, can you feel it? Can you feel that things are changing? And the casting of that guy playing the zombie, that African-American playing the zombie, is so perfect, because for about 5 seconds you're like, I don't know if that dude is going to respond, like, because he's so zombie looking.
He's got what an amazing zombie face to be born
Really?
with. God bless that man.
He looks like the definition of zombie. And then when the guy starts nodding, it's so surprising because you're like, oh, that dude ain't gonna nod back. So when he does, it was like, holy shit, how great that scene is.
I'm picturing that kid like in his high school yearbook, most likely to play a zombie just because he has that.
He might look, man, that dude has a face for zombies. It's like when you meet someone and you're like, man, if this was the 1920s, you would be the best looking gal at the dance, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's some gifts you would have rather been passed on, I think. Like, I don't know, would you rather be a guy who was in a movie because you look like a zombie or a guy who didn't look like a zombie and you just had a regular job?
Well, do you think the guy who looks like a zombie is getting a lot of work? Because I think he's getting a lot of work. Do you think that he's offloading trucks to pay for his mortgage? I don't think so.
I would just say, I might rather be the handsome guy that has to offload the truck than to say, like, your one gift in life is you get all the casting calls for the role ugly guy.
Yes, but I mean,
having said that, if you're born with that face, praise the Lord, you can put it to work, brother.
Yeah.
I
always said I'd be far more, popular if I had like a foot growing out of my head or something like that.
Here, I used to have this joke where, like the joke was, I am literally the median line. This is back when I was a much fatter person. Like I am the median line of good looking. So if you see me and you think that that I am better looking than you, then you are an ugly person.
I love that.
And that was my whole bit, and it was like a 5-minute chunk that I did, and without fail, after I would say that, every dude in the world after my show was over would go, "Hey, by the way, I am better looking than you," and it wouldn't matter what they looked like. They would, every single dude in the room would say that, and so like I get it, like, oh, that guy's really ugly. He's got a face for a zombie. I guarantee you, when he's out of that zombie makeup, that dude's getting it done. Ooh, which reminds me. So for years and years, how like I've been trying to like come up with the perfect example of like an actress that almost always plays like the nerd, like the girl who's a nerd in like most of the movies. And this movie finally has the perfect example. Like, oh, she plays a nerd in movies, but if you saw her in real life, she'd be like a 10 out of 10, the most attractive person you've ever seen. This movie has that actress because her name is Leo Tipton. Yeah. And she plays Nora in this movie. She plays Julie's best friend. Mm-hmm. That actress is always like the nerdy, quirky best friend girl. And I guarantee you, if you saw that girl in real life, you'd be like, that is probably the most attractive girl I have ever seen in my life.
Google image search. She's a very beautiful lady from Minneapolis.
Of course, because she's beautiful. And it's so funny the way that like it's just like short speak in movies. Like, hey, look at this nerdy girl over here. It's so funny to me.
Well, she got discovered because she was a contestant on America's Next Top Model.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's why she's so good looking. But see, that's the thing. When you, especially with the America's Top Model and stuff like that, those girls are good looking, but very oftentimes good looking in slightly different ways than what you would normally see. Because models very often can look. I love them, but like Rango in a lot of weird ways. You know what I'm saying? Like they're
I know
awkward.
Exactly what you mean.
They're kind of awkward and weird looking, but yet still beautiful at the same time. It's like it happens. We mentioned him for a second here, but Rob Corddry. This may be my favorite Rob Corddry performance ever. He is so damn good in this movie.
I agree.
I think it's his least annoying performance because not that it's not a good performance, but the characters he gets cast as.
He's pretty great in Hot Tub Time Machine too. Because he starts as his typical character that he does in all movies, and then that shift happens on that character where you're like, oh, I didn't know that he had that in it. Like I didn't know that he could pull that off, and he totally does.
He found Lugal, so he's got to be pretty smart.
Yeah, and Motley Lou. But I think that that's the first movie I saw him in where I was like, oh, he's not just a performer. Like he actually can pull off some acting. And this, I agree with you, Adam. I think this is his best performance. He should totally put it on as real.
Oh, yeah. Because when he's sitting with Holt at the bar at the beginning there and everything, and they're just having that, like, that's a great fun thing of two actors just doing a scene with no dialogue involved. Yeah. They're just like, we're going to look at each other and we're going to have this conversation in Zombie. And it's so lovely. And you just see him thinking, or at least trying to, comb the zombie minds of whatever he's got in there to pull something out. And like, but like at the same time, it's also that like, great zombie vacant look, but still trying to find something. I think it's a lot tougher to do than many people would imagine.
Agreed.
I think I enjoyed the movie most when John Malkovich was on screen.
Man, he's always like
I'm a sucker for him too.
He plays two roles these days, and I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. He's either like the crazy old man, or he's like the militant guy. Even if he's not in the military, he plays those two roles now, and it's fine.
Here's like, what you need to understand. Just right. Really getting like it's just Malkoviching it, or he's got a crazy accent to go along with it. Here he's regular American accent, which is good. Thank God he didn't go like, all right, I'm doing Yugoslavian or some shit. He's just like, all right, I'll be American. Thank God.
Have you ever heard Matt Damon's story about him on Rounders?
I don't know.
So Rounders, they have like Malkovich is the guy with the Oreos in that scene, and they call him KGB in the movie. Have you ever seen the movie?
Oh yeah. What you do is you do some he's twisting his cookies and stuff.
Right, and he does this Yugoslavian accent in it, and Damon's like, this is a very small movie, and we're very lucky that we have Malkovich, and everybody, all the actors on set, the director, we're all looking forward to Malkovich coming in, and he shoots the last 2 days of our movie. He's only in for 2 days, so he comes in, he sits down, and action. He starts doing the accent, and he starts talking very loudly, and Damon is like, "Huh? So that's what he's chosen to go with, huh? Like he's chosen." This to do this for his character. Cut. Okay, let's try that again, John. So back to one, does the same thing again, talking very loudly, like the pigeony English that he's doing with the Yugoslavian accent. Right. And cut. Okay, thanks, John. John turns to Matt Damon and he goes, "I'm not a very good actor."
What the heck?
And Damon goes, "I fell out of my chair laughing." I was laughing so hard.
What's funny? It was like when you saw it like initially in the 90s with Rounders and everything, like what a really great flick. Edward Norton just doing a fantastic supporting performance there and everything. But when you saw that in the 90s, man, Malkovich was just like, it was just killer. And then 20 years later, you watch it again, like, what the fuck is going on in this scene? You really watch it now, and it is just like, he is just straight ham the whole time. And it is like, that's a 10 on the Malkovich score. This one is a nice solid 5. He's right here in the middle. He's doing a decent enough job. He's not going too over the top and making you like, he's not eating every Malkovich word that comes out of his mouth.
It's true.
He just like there's one point where he gets Holt up to the thing and just threaten him with the gun and stuff. But even then, on the Malkovich scale, not super high. It's good.
Yeah, it's probably a 4 on Malkovich's scale, quite honestly.
Yeah, that's probably true. It's lower than it is higher for sure, because he's not A, no accent, B, I don't know that he screamed once in this movie. Not in a Malkovich way, at least.
I'm still laughing about I'm not a very good actor, that whole thing.
Oh my God.
That'll keep me up tonight.
I just do what I do.
So I got a question for the room here that I wrote down as a note. So just for instance here, right? Let's say that instead the main character of R, right? Instead of him being played by a very cute 20-year-old Nicholas Holt, Julie was saved by an overweight 62-year-old former welder zombie Does Julie go off with him in the first place?
Oh man.
No.
The ugly fat guy bias in Hollywood is just getting old.
But I mean,
I know. No, that's true. It's true.
I can't.
Now that's the movie I would watch.
What if it's Rob Corddry, even, for heaven's sake? She's not going off with Rob Corddry's character.
I like the idea that like there's an ugly zombie going around trying to save girls, but they all would rather die than be saved by the ugly zombie. Like, I want that movie.
Oh, that's really good.
That zombie
he's got
watches
a zombie
more
with a
bodies.
heart of gold who's trying to save everybody, and they're like, "Nope, I'd rather be eaten than spend 5 minutes with you."
For some reason, this just might be the role Jason Alexander needs to kickstart his career again.
Oh man, that's a good point.
He's just falling apart left and right, but really he's just trying to bring some love into the world, and nobody wants anything to do with them. But
Bruce, I think we got your new screenplay idea.
Oh, I'll make it myself, and guess who'll play the zombie?
I love that.
I do.
Already got the Beetlejuice makeup in the basement.
One of my favorite parts of this movie is as they're kind of running away from, this big horde of the, what do you call them there? The bonies and whatnot.
Yeah.
Old girl's got a gun, and she in full ass sprint turns and shoots two of these zombies in the head. And I'm like, man, Rambo himself couldn't have pulled this off. What a load of crap. She, like, in full sprint goes out and then bam, headshot, then bam, another headshot. It was like, what in the world? I know Dad was like, a military guy and everything. It probably taught you a couple of things, but my word, get out of here.
Are you familiar with, I think it was a movie or TV show called Hannah, something like that?
Yeah, good
Hannah.
movie.
Yes, based on the movie. The movie's awesome.
Yeah,
movie's awesome.
That's who that girl was, man. He raised her to be Hannah.
That movie is freaking amazing, and the show's okay.
Yeah, I didn't see the show. I was just like, I don't know why I'd want to, ruin the thing that I already saw and enjoyed.
Yeah, why didn't I think that instead of, more Hannah?
I did wonder if there was an ending where Dad shot and killed R, and it was just a total bummer of an ending and everything.
There
I'm like,
is
wouldn't that be
no
effed up?
way. There is no way.
It just goes bam, credits.
There's no way, man.
Listen, if we were going off of Bruce's version of this, where he watched like the Terrence Malick cut,
oh yeah,
that's what I think Bruce saw this as.
That's what happens to my zombie with a heart of gold. He gets shot for being ugly in the last scene of the movie.
Man, sounds like it's for everybody. This movie.
The irony is he gets shot by another fat ugly man who's just not a zombie.
They always kill their own kind, don't they? Now, go ahead.
I've got. Do you have a real point here?
No. Go ahead. Yeah, please.
Okay, so like Jonathan Levine, right? Mm-hmm. Writer director of this movie. He does have like a track record of this. Like, not all his movies are great. Like they vary in quality. But the one thing that happens almost every time when he is both writer and director is that the movie is way better than it has any right to be. Right. So like when you look at like a movie like Long Shot, that movie with man, I'm just blanking on names today. She plays Furiosa in Fury Road.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron. Thanks.
Okay. Oh, the other one. I forget what I got.
Charlize Theron and Seth Rogen.
It also has O'Shea Jackson Jr. according to this.
It does, and he is great in it also. Like these three performances are terrific. I think he both wrote and directed that movie. I might be wrong on that, but that movie is way better than it has any right to be. Like that is a very charming movie, and same with 50-50. That movie 50-50. That is a movie. Like, that is not my style of movie. I don't love that movie, but that movie is way better than it has any right to be for what that movie is.
Yeah, I would definitely. I'd recommend that movie. The night before. It's got Anthony Mackie and Joe Scored-Levitt in it. It's okay.
It's okay.
He whose name must not be spoken. Have either of you seen The Whackness?
No. I've heard people talk about it, and I think I remember people liking that, and All the Boys Love Mandyland, but I've never seen that.
I've never seen The Whackness, but I always thought it sounded interesting because it's kind of like just a guy trying to figure things out in the 90s, semi-autobiographical or something like that.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah,
Another
Gen
thing,
X Love Fest.
Production design thing here. I love the look of the wall. Like when you're up on it, not the CGI wall, but when they're running through the wall, they're pulling the metal plates off. I love the look of that, like the real version of that wall. Like it looks like they just took like pig iron and we're like,
yeah,
okay, we're cutting chunks to make this wall. Like it looks great.
I love that piecemeal.
Thing.
I guess is the piecemeal mosaic or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, the whole design of everything looks really good because, obviously with, zombie apocalypses and stuff like that, you got to make stuff look good, bad, as it were.
Yeah.
And there's nothing in this where it feels like they're cutting corners or being cheap or anything. Everything looks like it's supposed to be, but like I don't think this movie was wildly, expensive to shoot, but it doesn't look like it's, a cheap piece of junk either.
Which gets me to my next note here, which is that this is not an incredibly expensive movie. But what do you think had a bigger budget? The VFX for this movie or the needle drops for this movie? Because you've got Bruce Springsteen, GNR, Bob Dylan, like they are dropping some money on some music for this thing.
I'm trying to figure out, like, because sometimes depending upon like if it's like, Warner or Sony or something like that, oftentimes they have, open freeness to their own catalog and whatnot, so they can get away with that kind of stuff. So
they don't.
This is indie.
No?
Yeah, this was an indie thing.
Yeah.
Not well. It's
from
a
Summit.
Warner Brothers movie. Or it's a Lionsgate movie.
Yeah,
it was distributed by them, but I thought it was something they picked up from like festivals or something.
But I mean, like even if like let's say that this was a Warner Brothers movie to make a point here. Like even if you are a Warner Brothers movie and you are using a song from the Warner Brothers catalog, that goes towards your budget.
Oh yeah,
like it doesn't cost Warner Brothers anything, but it costs you making the movie money.
That's true. One more other thing that, like, again, cool, interesting zombie thing that you don't see in any of the other stuff, which again makes one of the reasons why I like this, that it kind of stands out and whatnot, is the fact that, zombies can kind of recover via love and just being able to kind of break out of that, mindset there and everything and just open themselves up to, having feelings come in there. And then like that's the thing that can bring you back from the brink, and having, again, still having the threat of the bonies and stuff out there, the ones that are too far gone, which is a great thing because, like, even if you get rid of the zombies, you haven't gotten rid of the bonies. So it's not like you've completely solved your problems, but it makes it feel like humanity is kind of, headed towards a more, upward swing and everything, which is nice.
I think the you can cure a zombie with love thing. Look, you are a much bigger softie than Bruce and I when it comes to this sort of like general feeling of thing. In any other instance, I would say this is the dumbest thing in the world.
Yeah. Oh, right. Outside of this movie, if that was in The Walking Dead, I'd call bullshit,
However, maybe it's because it was set up so early where his heart beats the one time, and on the plane, that when it does happen and they don't come out and say the words, by the way, love cures you of your zombie illness.
Right. It's not so on the nose.
Right. But if in dumber hands, I would have thought this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And it's handled so well in this movie.
Yeah, it's not corny. Nobody's putting on Neil Diamond's Turn On Your Heart Light or nothing like that.
Oh boy. The only reason why you put that song on in your movie is because it is a joke. That's the only reason.
Can we talk about the ending now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, because that's where I have probably my biggest problem. They're adapting a story that is immensely well known, and the biggest reason it's immensely well known is that it's a tragedy, which makes it sort of a morality play and makes a point. But they took a tragedy and gave it a positive ending. This movie would have been more potent to me if she wanted to be with him so bad she made herself a zombie just as he discovered he was becoming human. And they end up passing in the night, just the way, you know, Romeo and Juliet, they both killed themselves because of a misunderstanding and everybody's dead. But, you know, put that little gift of the Magi twist on it. That she voluntarily becomes a zombie to be with him just as he finds out he's becoming human.
I don't dislike the idea. I don't know if it's right for this movie, and like your mainstream comedy, that's the tough thing of it, is like you got to sell that to an audience, and that's going to be, again, even if you're leaning into the Shakespearean aspect of it all, like it's not going to leave the majority of people that would be going to see this movie, I think, satisfied with that ending. And
not everything can be 10 Things I Hate About You.
No, I agree.
The only adaptation that really did it right.
I agree. It's tough to do things, especially when it's, you know, kind of trodden material and everything. But at least we didn't have somebody calling Capulets and Montagues. At least we got that much, right?
Yeah, there is that part too.
Now,
I'm sorry. One last note, and then my notes are done. So after the scene where they're putting the makeup on R to make him pass as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way that studio execs didn't have a conversation about making Nicholas Holt the Joker. There is no way.
That was a good look.
When he gets the hair slicked back and he's got the white makeup on first as a base, I was like, oh, they clearly like somebody in a studio somewhere said, let's sit at the big desk and talk about making Nicholas Holt the Joker.
Listen, man, it's not a horrible idea.
Playing opposite Pattinson in the next Batman film, I'd be all for it.
Because here's the
problem is he's going to be Lex Luthor.
Yeah, but like he's tall and lanky enough to have that kind of jokery sort of vibe with him and everything. I like it.
And don't we have somebody really good as the Joker, if we're to believe?
Yeah.
Is it Kean?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good.
He is going to be good.
Well, you know, we got all those kinds of ups and downs. You never know
Colin Farrell, but he's going to be good.
Listen, I'll take him as Lex Luthor over Jesse Eisenberg. Nothing against Jesse Eisenberg, but it is what it is, baby.
I'm happy saying something against Jesse Eisenberg in that statement.
You heard it from here, everybody. Fuck you, Jesse Eisenberg. Bruce Leslie.
Whoa.
He said it, not me. Now, if you had to recast this movie, is Nicholas Holt getting it done in this movie? I think that's our first one.
Oh, I think without a doubt, man. He is so charming. He's got the entire production on his back.
Yeah.
And he's not straining under the weight. He is terrific in this. I will say this, though. There are about 10 actors who could do this role.
Mm-hmm.
But his version of it, I think, is probably the best version of what this movie is.
Yeah. Bruce?
The person who, well, we're not at that part yet where we would recast it. I think he's as good as anybody they're going to get in this movie. Yeah, absolutely. I can't come up with any negatives about his performance. So yeah, he's getting it done for me as much as anything else. I mean, he's no John Malkovich, but few are. I've already seen that movie. It's actually.
It turns out that I'm dead. Yeah, he's super great in this. I like you said, there's no real complaints here to be had, so that makes the next one difficult. Like you said there, Bruce, if you had to recast this, who would you do? My obvious answer, I feel like, is going to be the same for all these, would be Anton Yelchin, but I got another choice for you that makes the movie a little bit different. It's not going to be.
You think Anton Yelchin is the obvious choice for anything?
First of all, well,
oh man, he is a great
I agree that he's great, but I don't think he was ever obvious. Like I always felt he was underappreciated.
Well, I think last week,
last week I mentioned it as he would take this Nicholas Holt, yeah. Because here's the thing, they're contemporary ages and stuff like that, so they it would make sense. Yeah. But my offshoot for this, because I'm not going to use the same answer every single week here, but an odd thing that would change the movie, you'd have to change some dynamics and stuff like that. It wouldn't be the same movie, but I would like to see a version where Jason Schwartzman is R.
Oh, no.
I'm saying,
I kind of like that.
It's not this movie. It's not per se this movie, but like the same basic idea. But he's not playing R per se. We'll call him W for whatever. I don't know. But just to have him be that zombie character that needs to find that sort of thing, I think it could be a quirkier, different type of movie altogether. The movie changes, but that's.
I think that it goes along with my question earlier of if it was instead of Nicholas Holt, it was a 62-year-old overweight plumber.
Yeah,
I think because Jason Schwartzman, look, he's a fine looking man. He him as a zombie, like he's not good looking enough to pull a human. You know what I mean?
But he's entertaining. Like she sees him like there's some sort of entertainment
Like he
value.
starts juggling?
I don't know.
For some reason in my mind, I'm just picturing the Rushmore version. It's making it a
It's
lot
like
funnier.
14.
Yeah.
I wrote a major play.
As he writes a zombie play. Listen, it's already starting to write itself, boys.
Well, is it my turn?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, because I would say that the person that the production company wanted that wouldn't come near this with a 10-foot pole and they probably couldn't afford, but it's Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robert
I mean,
Pattinson,
he elevates, he elevates anything he's in as long as it's not Twilight. And coming off of the heat from Twilight and being a guy, I mean, they got a good-looking young English actor, so they were looking for a type.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. He probably actually would have killed this role. It would have been a slightly different thing and whatnot. But and of course, like you said, there's after all the Twilight stuff, there's no way in hell he's stepping anywhere close to this movie.
No way.
Had that
And
stuff
also,
never existed,
He's probably never going to do another romantic comedy, man.
Also, coming off of Twilight, he would have probably been asking for 60% of the whole budget. You know what I mean? Like he was demanded. It says this movie had a $35 million budget. He probably would have needed $20 million to do it.
Man, they spent 17 on the soundtrack to this movie.
Yeah, it's like Kubrick said about the guy from the Pink Panther, Peter Sellers. He said Peter Sellers is like getting 12 actors for the price of 6.
Yeah.
So much so that Peter Sellers like, I'm going to fake hurt myself so I don't have to do yet another role. He was going to play the Slim Pickens role. They want him to do that, and he was like, no, I don't want to do yet another role. I'm fake injured.
He said the budget was $1.1 million, and the first $1 million went to Peter Sellers, and he had $100,000 to make the movie.
You get a nickel, great. James Earl Jones. All right, movies only come in 2 forms, art or fart. Bruce, where does Warm Bodies fall for you, sir? Art or fart?
Oh man, I hate to break your guys' farts here, but it's a fart for me. I mean, there was a reviewer, I'm going to paraphrase, said it better than I can say it, but it's cute, but not necessarily clever. Why are you wanting to make Shakespeare if you don't like the way Shakespeare made things? There's just a lot of little problems I guess I can pick and nit at, but at the end of the day, I just didn't enjoy it. So that's why I'm giving it the old fart.
Fair enough. Sean?
I think that this movie is just lovely. I enjoy this movie immensely. Is it art? I don't know if it is. You know what? For the sake of argument, it is barely art, but it is a good version of it's the best version of what this movie could possibly be.
Yeah, I agree with that. I probably hold it a little less high than when I originally saw it in theaters and everything. I really did enjoy it then. Of course, it is, over a decade ago at this point. So,
and it took us by surprise. It was surprising how good the movie was when I first saw it.
But you're right, because by all of the, historic track record and everything, this movie should be fairly garbage.
Yeah,
it really should be. And it's not. It's way better than your average movie of this time, of this quality and everything. And I think that certainly elevates it enough and does enough different stuff to where I feel like I can recommend it for at least a good one watch if you haven't seen it before. I think it's at least a good Saturday, afternoon movie or something like that. It's hour and a half. It's real nice quick flick too. It's not, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It chugs along well enough.
If you like this kind of movie, you'll probably like this kind of movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very much so. So that is it, everybody. Get another one in there. And tell you what, we're going to keep on this Nicholas Holt train come next week here and everything when we are talking about The Favorite from Yorgos Lanthimos, an Oscar-winning film, this one. So we're going to get into some real good stuff here. Have we all seen that or no?
I have not seen it.
Okay, so Sean is going to, let me tell you, I am excited to see, because of all people, I could assume what Bruce would think about some of the stuff that goes on in this movie. I can't wait to see yours.
I can't wait to see it.
Your reaction is going to be
I literally had no idea this movie existed.
You got the old Coleman there winning an Oscar for this, man. So nice. Good stuff. So we'll be checking that out next week. And of course, you can always see all of this good stuff over on our YouTube page, everybody. Check that out. Just the links are in the show notes and whatnot. We got all kinds of fun reviews. This show up here, and we're going to put out the first episode of our Dinger Zone where we're doing Daredevil Born Again. We're doing episodes 1 and 2, doing our 30 questions format over there. So go check all of that out over on our YouTube page. Bruce, what else?
Oh, I don't know if people know this, but I had a brief career as a hip hop icon. So see if you can find my hit independent song that was so big that the big media conglomerates slapped me down. So see if you can find Cyber Slap. And if you're able to find it, leave a comment so I know you found it.
Do so, everybody. It's a Bruce Leslie joint. I'll tell you that much. Sean?
Is that damning it or praising it?
You heard me.
It's really the video is the highlight.
Yeah, just check out my my Scootin' YouTube channel where I get on an e-scooter and travel around the world. There's plenty of video on there, and there's about to be more because it's about to be warm and sunny, and we'll be doing more traveling.
Getting nice out there, everybody. So go check on all of that kind of good stuff. That will do it for this episode of Half-Ass Movie Podcast. Join us next week for the favorite from Yorgos Malafamosa. I'm never going to get the name right. For Sweet Shots and Go Backs from the internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portress, reminding you to be a dirty baby and leave a comment for your mom.